Good evening. The setting's a little different this time around. You may not get as much out of this, but I did present earlier to a room full of middle schoolers. Things are a little different, so I'm going to have to change some things just a little bit. I do want you to know what I presented to the kids earlier. It's something that I felt was important, something that I wish I would have understood. I probably wouldn't have at that age because, well, at that age, I wasn't very mature, neither mentally nor in my actions, but maybe someone would have gotten something out of this today, and I'd like to share it with you today. My name is Karimi. Look at you. I bet you look as young to me as I look old to you. Let me shift that around a little bit. Look at you. You all look great. A brief intro on who I am. I'm 32 years old. I am a 9-year Sycamore school veteran, K through 8. I went on to high school, college, law school, became a lawyer, and in my professional career, I've been prosecuting criminals here in Marion County. The way it works, as many of you probably know, there's 92 counties in our state. Each county has its own prosecutor's office. A person charged or caught committing a crime is sent to jail, obviously, and the prosecutors, it is up to them to convict them in court of law. Sorry, my child threw me off there a little bit. I was convicting criminals. I was convicting criminals from 2012 to 2017. I started off in juvenile. I raised through the ranks, started doing misdemeanors. DUIs I did for a couple of years, and in the last 2 years, I did major felonies, the highest crimes there are. Murders, robberies, burglaries, criminal confinements. All that is to say is that I've seen a lot, and I'd like to share with you some of the pearls I've learned, things that I wish I would have known when I was in middle school. I wanted to explain to the kids how I know what it's like in the position they're in today. I know how much pressure they're under being a student at Sycamore School. I do remember the struggle it was being a middle schooler, and even though middle schoolers don't pay rent, tax, utilities, they're not really responsible for anyone, they are under tremendous pressure from multiple fronts and probably don't realize it. That's what I think to be the most important thing for middle schoolers to realize, is they probably don't get how much pressure they're truly under. But that's okay, because that's the nature of their age. This talk is called Conversations with My Middle School Self. And I began by writing a list of things I would have told myself as a middle schooler, and I read this list after I was done writing it and realized it's not practical today. It doesn't apply to the time. It's been 18 years since I've been here. So I had to rewrite it in a way that I can try and share things with the kids that would apply to them the same as it would have applied to me when I was here in the 90s. I went on to say how, for many of them, there's probably nothing I could say that would stick or that they'd listen to. I challenged them to listen to me. I told them when I was in school, I would play a game with myself when I was in a class that was very boring. I would pretend that I had to listen to what the teacher was saying. And it was a tool that I used, and it worked. So I challenged them to pretend to listen to me as though they had to, as though it was necessary, because I was going to share with them some secrets. And if they didn't hear those secrets today, they may never hear them again. And I started with secret number 1, and I went on to say life is a game. Not a game in the sense that it's trivial, but in the sense that we're all players and there are rules. If you think about it, everyone you know, everyone you see, everyone you don't know, everyone you don't see, are all players in this game, and this game of life is perpetuated by its players. The seats you're sitting in, the clothes you're wearing, the building you're in, it was all created by other players that came before you, or some of them contemporaneous. I wanted them to start thinking about the construct of life, and by telling them life is a game, I was hoping to get them to start thinking that way. If, I went on to say, they realize that life is a game, you'll see that everyone has a role. At this age, it's very natural to wonder what my role is. And what I went on to tell them is that your role is very obvious. It's to do exactly what you're doing now. Grow, make friends, have fun, Try your best to listen to your parents and teachers, make mistakes, learn from them, make new friends, make enemies. Don't worry about the future so much. Just do what you're doing. You'll have plenty of time, I told them, to worry about the future in the near future. I went on to say about secret 2, which is question everything, because you are, in fact, allowed to. Question everything, I explained, doesn't mean reject everything. Question everything means try and understand. Try and understand what you're hearing, why you're hearing it, and decide for yourself if you agree or not. At that age, they do all sorts of things that they don't want to do. When you tell your child to brush their teeth and they don't want to do it, they still better do it, otherwise they'll get in trouble. I challenge them to think about why they're doing what they're doing outside of the fact that they're told to. There's a concept of ought that I touched on, and how no one really knows what ought means. What is it to have a duty? When someone says you should do something, you ought to do something, I challenge them to question ought, question their duties, not reject them, but question them while they're doing them. Just because you're doing something and you don't agree with it, you're allowed to question it. Excuse me. It's the only liquid around, okay? So question it. Question what you do in your mind at least, because what people don't tell you and what they ought to tell you is that you are allowed to question things. If nothing else, do it internally, in your mind, I told them. You don't have to agree with things just because you're doing them. Question your duties, explore it, and decide for yourself if it's something you agree with. At that age, I went on to explain, whether they know it or not, they are desperate to try and make sense of things. At least I was. They are a product of what they're told to do, and by who they're told to do it by, or from whom they're told to do it by. Naturally, they're smaller, younger, weaker, and they depend on the people around them, so they can't really voice their disagreements often. But I wanted to explain that their minds are growing faster than their life experiences, that they'll get there, but they have to realize that they cannot be there yet. But if they start questioning things, if for nothing else but a thought exercise, they'll begin to train their minds for the flood of rules and regulations and deadlines and timelines that are about to be crammed down their throat in the next few years. So what I told them is to question everything and then question themselves. Question everything and then question what I'm telling them. Question everything. Secret number 3, I told them to. If they're going to be dumb, but be smart about it. We've all done dumb things. At that age, especially at that age, I know they've done some dumb things that they may not even realize why they did it. But as they get older, I told them, these dumb things will carry greater consequences. So if you're going to be dumb, be smart about it. What does that mean? If you're driving your car, in a few years they will be, and they want to question the speed limit, and they decide the speed limit is senseless, and on my advice, they disregard the speed limit, and they decide to speed. Okay, if you're going to speed, but wear your seatbelt and don't text. I would get these cases as a prosecutor that would blow my mind how dumb people can be. I mean, if you're going to rob a bank, I get it, rob a bank, but wear a mask. There are civilians, there are cameras, it's a bank. Just put on a mask. If your friends are jumping off a bridge and you want to as well, that sounds fun. But maybe have a life jacket or a raft at the bottom for you and your friends. If you're going to be dumb, be smart about it. Secret number 4, I want to talk to them about how sometimes we make mistakes, and it's better to accept it than to deny it, because the cover-up often is worse than the mistake. In my field, they say the cover-up is worse than the crime. We're not talking about crimes here, so I said the cover-up is often worse than the mistake, and I went on to explain how everyone makes mistakes. It's expected, and it's easily forgiven. But when you lie about the mistake, you've passed into a different realm where you're lying, and that's the cover-up, and that's worse than the original mistake. Secret 5 is a quote I read to them by a poet and civil rights activist, Maya Angelou, and it was a quote that really stuck with me at that age. I don't know why. It's a powerful quote, maybe that's why, so I wanted to share it with them. And she says, "People will forget what you said, People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I find that to be very true. And I wanted them, and I said to them, if nothing else, I hope you appreciate the truth of this quote. Whether it's good feelings or bad feelings, people will remember, and you will remember those feelings. I went on to kind of conclude to tell them that I've never heard anyone say middle school is the best time of my life, or middle school was the golden days, because it's not. I said I wouldn't take anything back from my middle school experience, but you're not going to consider this as the best time of your life. I told them that, you're just not. You never hear people say those were the days referring to middle school. And everyone expects you to succeed, I told them. And it's true, we do expect them to succeed. Everyone expects them to be gifted. Their teachers give them tough challenges, which may lead to many feelings of inadequacy. Their parents hold them to high standards, which may lead to similar feelings. They know that they belong. Excuse me. It's a client. Friday night. Excellent. They know they belong here. They know that this environment is where they deserve to be, and they deserve to be challenged. It doesn't mean it feels good. Try and understand your situation, was my point to them. Try to, because trying is succeeding. I wrapped it all up by telling them the 5 secrets I told them. Life is a game, play it. Question everything and decide how you feel. Act dumb when you choose to, but be smart about it. Admit fault or error when it happens, don't deny it. And stay mindful of the fact that how you make someone feel, for better or for worse, will never be forgotten. Now that I've told you what I've told them, it's up to you what to do with it. Thank you.